This is Limehouse Conservation Area in Ontario, Canada. And this area has gone from this, to this, and now to this over the last 200 years. Once a quarry, this park has been rewilded and restored to now support a variety of wildlife and insect species across a range of different ecosystem types. In this video, we're going to explore the caves, forests, wetlands, and species, in addition to the 200 years of human history that make up this incredible conservation project. So today, we're in the beautiful Limehouse Conservation Area to explore everything this place has to offer in terms of the environment, ecology, and also the added twist of some important human history. Let's get right into it. So we're currently making our way to what's known as the hole in the wall, which is basically gonna be a pretty cool cave, I'm hoping. Maybe we'll be able to see some bats or some other pretty unique wildlife there. It's definitely a different kind of ecosystem than what I'm normally exploring in my local area. So one of the many things that makes Limehouse Conservation Area really interesting is that it blends both the environment, conservation, and human history, as this area has pretty historical significance dating back to the mid-1800s. There's a variety of things like ruins of old kilns where they actually used to produce lime from limestone. There's also some old ruins of a place where they used to keep explosives, all while being part of the Bruce Trail, which is the longest trail in Canada, which I'm currently walking on right now. So we'll see what we can see while we're here. So you can already see some of the interesting landscape and geology here. There's a pretty deep chasm that's going down here. I can't even tell how deep that actually goes, but we're definitely gonna stay behind the ropes. So we're almost there. This is where we're trying to go. The hole in the wall. We're gonna pick this up and try and find a garbage to get rid of it. The rule is to always leave these trails in natural spaces better than when you found them. So I'm just trying to understand where this tree was growing before it toppled over. Like, there's literally just a chasm underneath it. Where did it come from? So we're at the hole in the wall now, and we're gonna go check it out. It looks pretty cool. We have to go down these stairs here, and then down this ladder, and into this cave. So this is where we're going next. We've got this ladder to go down, and then we got this cave to go through. Looks pretty cool. So I made it down to the bottom of this cave here without falling, thankfully. And it's like 10 degrees colder down here. But there's some pretty cool plant species that I wasn't seeing up top, but I am seeing down here. So all of these are appearing down at the bottom of this cave in the colder, damp conditions. But none of these were up top. Check out all these rock layers. Been formed over thousands, if not more, years. It's cool to see all these different mosses growing on the walls of the caves here, and how they've adapted to these kind of unique conditions. Trigger warning if you're a bit afraid of bugs, but I'm also seeing all kinds of different spider webs down here. And I'd be interested to know if there's different kinds of spider species that'll thrive down in these cave type of ecosystems compared to above ground. Let me know in the comments below if you know anything about spiders, or you can help me learn a bit more here. So we've made it through the cave, but we still got both the older kilns and the powder house where they kept the explosives to go check out. And we're gonna check out all the cool species and environmental interesting things that we see along the way. So I'm just gonna pop down this side trail here because There's a bit of a different ecosystem just over here, which looks like a prairie meadow kind of ecosystem, and we're gonna go check it out. You can see just through this field here, all kinds of different grasses and wildflowers, completely different type of ecosystem from where we just were. I'm not gonna go too deep into there because it looks like a tick paradise, but pretty cool that there's this diversity here. These sedges or plants here look like something out of Jurassic Park. I don't know that I've seen them before around me. So we're gonna try to ID them. So from what I can tell, these are actually ostrich ferns, and they're notable for their tall, graceful fronds that resemble ostrich feathers. And fronds are the leaf-like part of a fern or a palm. And these ferns are widely appreciated not only for their aesthetic appeal in shaded gardens, but also for their edible fiddleheads. These young curled fronds are harvested in early spring and are considered a delicacy, often sauteed or pickled. I'm seeing these seed pods everywhere. I'm pretty curious to learn a bit more about these as well. So I'm gonna leave it to future David to tell me exactly what's going on with these. So I'm thinking these might actually be staghorn sumac, which are a deciduous shrub or small tree known for its distinctive velvety branches and antler-like appearance, which is reminiscent of a male deer's antlers. The plant produces dense clusters of red berries that persist throughout the winter, providing food for wildlife and making it a popular choice for naturalist landscaping. These berries are also edible for humans and are commonly used to make a tart, vitamin C-rich beverage, often referred to as sumac lemonade. This right here is an old and impressive tree. Look at the size of this thing. It definitely stands out compared to all the other different types of trees that I've been seeing. What I actually thought was a prairie or grassland earlier actually might be more like a swamp or a marsh, maybe a fen, because we got this stream that actually runs all the way through it. Like I said, I didn't want to get right in there because of all the potential ticks, but this stream also ends in this series of rapids or little waterfall here. We're gonna see if we can get a better look. This bridge is amazing over this creek here. Super cool. You can actually see some ruins of potentially an old bridge here, but just look at this series of rapids. So we're at one of the kilns, and definitely caught me off guard how actually humongous this thing is. It's super impressive, and the fact that it's still held up after all these years, pretty cool. So there's actually two types of kilns that are found in the park. The set kilns, which are built in the 1850s, required adding limestone and firewood and burned for 3 to 4 days, necessitating a cooling period before lime could be extracted. And then in the 1870s, the draw kilns represented a technological advancement, allowing continuous operation without shutdown periods, despite needing 3 days to heat up initially. The draw kiln was also more accessible, standing 16 meters tall to facilitate direct loading of limestone via a ramp from the quarry floor, suitable for horse-drawn wagons. So we're approaching the powder magazine, or the explosive storage area, that was apparently erected in the 1850s. So it's about 170 years old. You can see the front entrance here, including the circa 1850 plaque up there. What we're seeing now is actually what used to be a large quarry, which was active from 1890 to 1917, which supplied limestone to the kilns at this site. Explosives, necessary for quarrying, required careful handling and storage. The small masonry powder magazine you see, built from masonry-covered coarse limestone with walls approximately 53 centimeters or 21 inches thick, was used to store highly sensitive black powder. Positioned in a slight depression in the quarry floor, to minimize damage in case of accidental explosions. One thing this conservation area is not lacking for is mosquitoes and even black flies, I think. I feel like I'm at an all-you-can-eat buffet and I'm the main course right now. One thing that I'm really appreciating about the Limehouse Conservation Area is this integration of the human aspect with the environmental aspect. So that's something I really took away when I was privileged enough to work with Indigenous communities in Northern Canada when I was a researcher, was seeing how that human and cultural side influenced the land and vice versa. And this has been a really stark and really cool example of that more locally to me, where there's this integration and interconnectedness between the human history of this landscape, but also the environmental conservation side, and seeing how those have been intertwined over the last 170 years has been really interesting to see. I hope you guys are finding it interesting too. So I just found two pretty cool examples of species that are living in this cave system, living above it or living within it, and cool examples of how they've adapted to these conditions. So the first is what I can assume are spiders, but they've filled in these webs in all these different holes in this cave or in this rock face here. You can see another one right up there. And then there's even more, even further up there. But it's just cool to see how these species can adapt to the unique niches or conditions that they're living in. The second is this tree here. And you can see it's growing right on top of the rock, and the root is actually going over top the rock, but then has actually penetrated inside of the cliff face here. And the root has actually either split the rock or has grown within the crack that already existed. It's kind of hard to tell. But again, that's a pretty cool example of a species adapting to its surroundings. I just came across this amazing little tiny mushroom here, just growing in the middle of the trail. But it looks super cool. Let's find out what it is. So as best as I can tell, this looks like part of the Odamensiella genus, and I'm not going to try to identify the exact species because I'm not confident enough to do it. But this is found in forested regions of Ontario, primarily thriving on the decaying wood of broadleaf trees. And these mushrooms are known for their slimy caps and slender stems, making them quite unique in appearance. And a fun fact about these mushrooms is that it's sometimes called the porcelain fungus because of its shiny, glass-like surface when they're wet. Here's just some small examples of the conservation work being done at Limehouse, where they've been planting some new trees here all along this path, right on the cliff face here, which is pretty cool. It looks like a lot of these trees are pretty well adapted to grow in these very rocky and shallow soil environments. I mean, there's a pretty stark example right there of what this little guy might grow to be if he gets lots of light. So one thing that's really caught my eye and impressed me about the Limehouse Conservation Area is the diversity of the terrain and the ecosystems that are here. We've seen everything from old growth forest to newer forest, to treed savannas, to fens, to rivers, swamps, and even obviously the cave that we saw. So there's just like 7 or 8 different types of big ecosystems here that are all creating this amazing diverse landscape. And I'm really glad that they've done everything they can to protect this area and maintain all of its ecosystem services and all of its cultural value. So thank you for joining me on my journey through the Limehouse Conservation Area today. I hope you enjoyed discovering the rich history that blended both human infrastructure and environmental conservation. Please hit the like button if you like the video and subscribe for weekly content focusing on the environment. I'll see you in the next one.